Hello, class. My name is Brian Franks. For this week's discussion, we're going to be talking about conflict resolution. Conflict in any project is inevitable. However, what separates a good conflict from a bad conflict is the actual conflict resolution process itself. Conflict can be described as a serious disagreement between two or more parties. Resolution or resolve can be described as a cause to heal or settle and find a solution for the conflict. The PMBOK describes 5 techniques for conflict resolution as described and outlined by Usami in the Project Manager Study Guide Handbook. The first is withdrawing or avoiding. Here, the project manager chooses to avoid the conflict altogether and allows those parties that are involved in the conflict to find a solution. Here, the project manager doesn't take any actions and lets all parties involved come up with their own solution. The next is smoothing or accommodating. Here, the project manager that is involved in the conflict tries to avoid areas of disagreement and focuses solely on commonalities. Smoothing is a way to help avoid tough discussions. Compromising. This approach is what could potentially be referred to as a midway approach. Here, everybody loses and everybody gains. No one wins everything and no one loses everything. However, all parties involved do not come away completely satisfied with the final results. This could best be described as a lose-lose approach. The next technique would be forcing. During forcing, the project manager makes a decision after hearing both sides that is solely in favor of only one party's viewpoint. However, that is done at the expense of the other party. Here, this could definitely be considered a win-lose approach, as one person gets their way and the other person does not. The last and best way would be in collaborating. Here, the project manager will work with all parties involved to help facilitate a discussion and allow the parties involved to come up with their own solution that they both agree upon is in the best interest of the project and the company itself. This would best be described as a win-win approach. The best way to resolve conflict, though, is to minimize how often it occurs. The PMBOK outlines 4 ways to help prevent conflict from occurring or to help minimize how often it occurs. The first way is to have strict ground rules. These ground rules will help discipline the team members and will also help set the stage for what each person is responsible for and how to resolve conflicts when they arise. The next is to have an effective communication plan. This communication plan will help avoid many of the conflicts, as this communication plan will lay out when problems do arise how to go about discussing these problems and to help make sure that everybody knows their particular role within the project. The next would be to have a better stakeholder management plan. The project is successful only and only if the stakeholders are happy. And project management is all about managing stakeholder requirements. Conflict is caused when unsatisfied stakeholders come to light, and we need to learn how to manage them. The last way is to solve conflict early. Like I said, conflict is almost inevitably going to happen during any sort of project, especially the longer and more complex the project is. However, the best way to resolve the conflict and solve it is to solve it early, so that way, it doesn't drag on, feelings can't fester, and people can't start to become bitter. Attack it when you first are aware of it and make sure that you get it solved immediately. Dealing with difficult people can also be challenging. However, there are some easy ways to follow steps in order to make it easier in dealing with these people. The first is to listen and understand what the person is saying. It's one thing to see the problem, but we need to actually talk to the person or persons and listen to what they are saying to us so we can figure out why it is that they are being difficult, whether they're just in a bad environment, if they were placed incorrectly, so on and so forth. The next is to acknowledge whatever it is that they are telling you. So often, when people bring stuff up to our attention that might not be pleasant to hear, as natural human beings, and especially as leaders, we might become defensive. It is important that we learn to step back, just acknowledge it and realize it's nothing personal. They're just voicing their opinions, and their opinions actually do matter. The next step is to just ask them what they need. Ask them what they need from you as a manager, Ask them what they would like to have in terms of resources, if that's what the issue is. Ask them what they need in order, to not be so difficult, whether it be time away from work, whether it be more money, whatever the issue may be. Ask them what they need and do everything you can to accommodate. The next, which is probably one of the hardest things, is just to embrace, and understand that we might be just like them. Everybody has problems, everybody has disagreements, everybody can be difficult to a certain degree at certain times. So it's okay for people in your team and your project to be difficult. However, it's not okay to single them out and to just be like, well, you need to get over it. And you really need to understand and realize that there are times where you yourself as a project manager may be difficult, and that is okay. And the last thing, and probably the most important thing, is to educate yourself by seeking outside help. In today's day and age, with the internet and books and podcasts, there are so many resources at our disposals as project managers in which we can only educate ourselves to become better, not only better leaders, but that way we can help better understand our own personnel, so that way we can know what might motivate them, why they might be upset, how we can challenge them, how they can challenge us. Our ultimate goal as leaders is to figure out what makes our team tick, and then of course to follow through and make sure we are successful. When it comes to dealing with someone who does not want to compromise, my current place of employment, we do have a process much like what was laid out here. We always ask them what's going on. We thank them for bringing it to our attention, and we ask them how we can fix it for them, and we fix it. But sometimes some people just are not willing to compromise, and unfortunately, that does happen. Sometimes you are forced to let people go if they are completely, truly unwilling to compromise and they are not willing to change and address the issue. Sometimes it is in the best interest of both, you as a project manager, also in the company's business, and also for the best interest of the employee. They might need to seek employment somewhere else. Although it's not pleasant and it can be very uncomfortable, sometimes the best thing to do if you have someone who will not compromise is it might be time to see them out and make sure that they seek employment elsewhere. Thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a great day.